Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture of general medicine where I make a difficult boring topic easy to learn. And for that, I shall be referring to this book of mind maps for general medicine by MediStudy Go. This book contains so many medicine topics which have been illustrated and organized into pictorial representation and flowcharts, which makes it very easy to learn the systematic process of general medicine. This is how we're going to learn the topic for today, which is idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura. So let's get into the lecture for today. And for that, you can get this book for yourself from any e-commerce platform like Amazon, Flipkart, Dentalcart, and the website of MediStudy Go. So let's get into the lecture for today. So what is ITP? As the term suggests, it contains three words, which is idiopathic, thrombocytopenic, and purpura. So idiopathic is something which does not have a described or a fixed cause. Second term is thrombocytopenic, which comes from thrombocytopenia. So thrombocytopenia is because of decreased amount of platelet cells. And purpura is a type of condition wherein bleeding occurs under the skin. And that is because of some problem in the platelet aggregation or adhesion, which leads to bleeding under the skin and it leads to bruise formation. So that is what ITP is about. And starting with the definition, it is an autoimmune disorder characterized by low platelet count, which is thrombocytopenia, due to immune-mediated destruction of the platelets. If platelets will not be there, they will not aggregate at the clot, they will not adhere with the broken blood vessel, and a fibrin clot will not be formed. This will lead to increased bleeding and will cause bruising under the skin. The most common cause is mostly idiopathic, that is the cause cannot be justified. And male is to female frequency of occurrence is same. So they are both equally affected. Now there are two forms of ITP, which is acute and chronic. Acute is mostly seen in children and chronic is seen in adults. Acute is usually seen due to some viral infection, whereas chronic does not have such tendency, and acute is self-limiting in nature, whereas the chronic one is persistent and it needs external treatment. This is how you can differentiate the two types of ITP. Then come the etiologic and the risk factors. Why this is happening? Although idiopathy is the main cause, but there have to be some triggering factors which leads to the derangement in platelet function. For example, infections like HIV, H. pylori, malignancies like adenocarcinoma and lymphoma, which decrease the immune system and the production of cells in the body. Autoimmune diseases like SLE, anti-glycoprotein antibodies, which destroy the glycoproteins on the platelet membrane, and autoimmune hepatitis. Other than this, in conditions like pregnancy, where there is increased demand, or medications like heparin and quinine can also be responsible. Now, once we know the etiology of a disease, we need to know how these etiologic agents affect in the body and what is the pathophysiologic reaction. Talking about the pathophysiology, the first and the foremost thing is that antiplatelet immunoglobulin G antibodies are formed against the GP protein, which is the glycoprotein on the membrane of the platelet. So if this is the platelet, this membrane of the platelet contains some proteins. These are known as glycoproteins and they have several numbers like 2B, 3A or 1B. If these proteins get affected or they get attacked by antibodies, this membrane is going to get deranged and that will lead to poor functioning of the platelet. So antiplatelet antibody is present, which gets attached to the platelet and sensitizes them. So this is the platelet, this is the protein, and these antibodies, they come and attach onto these glycoproteins. This leads to sensitized platelet being engulfed by the macrophages in the spleen. Now the antibodies which have attached to the platelet, they will carry this whole complex to the macrophages in the spleen, and those macrophages are going to engulf this complex and kill the platelets. So destruction of platelets occurs, which leads to thrombocytopenia. So this is the basic pathophysiologic reaction behind ITP. In order to compensate this thing, the spleen is going to produce increased amount of megakaryocytes. Megakaryocytes are basically the precursor cells for the platelets. So initially there is going to be an increased platelet count, but then more destruction is going to happen and the count will decrease again. Now, once we know the pathophysiology, we come to clinical features. So clinical features are going to surround mainly regarding the bleeding disorders and problems, which is nosebleed, mucosal bleed, and gum bleeds. Very commonly, they're going to happen. Blood in the vomit and blood in the urine. Also sometimes in stool. So everywhere the blood is going to be present wherever there is mucosal rupturing of the blood vessels. There is going to be purpura, bruising, heavy menstrual bleeding, and petechiae. Now, what is the difference in petechiae and in purpura? So petechiae, as the term suggests, is something petite. Petite means small. So less than 2 mm in size is petechiae and 2 to 10 mm in size in purpura. Petechiae is because of capillary problem, that capillary got burst, whereas purpura is because of platelet problem. And purpura leads to some bruising under the skin, whereas petechiae are small, tiny nodular lesions which are not really palpable. After we know the clinical features, we need to come to a confirmatory diagnosis for the patient so that the treatment can be given. For that, we perform lab diagnostic tests or lab investigations. First is to view the medications which the patient is taking, because some medications can lead to platelets getting deranged, which is leading to purpura. Secondly, we take the complete blood count to calculate the amount of platelets present in the body. Less than 1 lakh per microliter shows a condition of thrombocytopenia. Peripheral smear is taken to check the shape of the platelets and the morphology. If any morphologic defect is present, that can indicate another disease also. The bleeding time is going to be increased, but clotting time will be normal because clotting factors are normal. Antiplatelet antibody will be positively present. There can be a history of recent infection, and the platelet Coombs test is carried out, wherein the morphology and the functioning of the platelet is checked for. Other than the clotting time, the prothrombin time and the APTT are also normal because these also depend on the coagulation cascade or the intrinsic-extrinsic pathway, and those being normal means CT, PT, APTT are going to be normal. Only the BT will be increased. Now, what is the difference between BT and CT? We very frequently understand this term BT, CT, but what is the difference? BT is bleeding time, CT is clotting time. As the name suggests, bleeding time means how much time is the bleeding happening for, and CT means how much time is the blood taking to clot. So what is the clotting time? So BT is the test for platelets and the vessel wall, whereas CT is the time for coagulation cascade. If coagulation is normal, CT will be normal. If the blood vessels are intact, the BT will be normal because in some time platelets will function and clot will be formed. The normal BT is 2 to 7 minutes using the IV method, whereas the normal CT is 4 to 9 minutes. The bleeding time is commonly increased in ITP, as we just studied, von Willebrand disease, and after the use of aspirin, which usually prevents the platelet aggregation. And CT is prolonged in hemophilia A and B because factor 8 and 9 is absent or decreased, which leads to poor coagulation pathways. And the bleeding time is going to be normal in hemophilia and vitamin K deficiency because these are coagulation defects which will affect CT and not BT. And we coming to CT, it is going to be normal in ITP because the CT will be affected only if factor is affected. If platelet is affected, the BT will be affected. So BT is for platelet and CT is for coagulation cascade. So you can remember it easily. Coagulation cascade is for CT. After we know the confirmatory diagnosis for a disease, we need to manage this patient. So what is the treatment? The first and the foremost treatment might be required to be splenectomy. If spleen is performing too much production of the cells, there is going to be pooling of the blood in the spleen and therefore it can rupture in the future. So splenectomy is the treatment in severe cases. Then we decrease the rate of platelet destruction so as to bring the platelet count to normal. And for that, we can give intravenous gamma globulin because this increases the platelet count very fast. Then we can give steroids to decrease the immune response and the antibody production in the body. Then we can give anti-RhD globulin for Rh positive patients. Now what happens is that Rh positive patients contain the Rh antigen. Now if these patients will be given Rh globulin, this globulin attaches to Rh antigen and there is a reaction between these two. This reaction distracts the body's antibodies from reacting against the platelets. So this is like a distraction mechanism wherein the Rh globulin attacks on the Rh antigen and the antibodies make this the main reaction and ignore the platelets. So ITP will be resolved. This is only for Rh positive patients. Then thrombopoietins like romiplostim can be given because they stimulate the megakaryocytes to produce more platelets. So this is the main drug of choice which is given. Secondly, we can use CD20 monoclonal antibodies because these antibodies are going to bind to B lymphocytes and prevent their binding to platelet. If B lymphocyte is going to be occupied before only, then they will not bind to platelets and destruction will be stopped. So this is secondary treatment, but thrombopoietin is the most common treatment which is used over here. So this is how you can compile this whole topic. Beyond this mind map, you have certain notes which are available on the app of MediStudy Go. This is where I taught you BTCT from, and there are so many more such topics in the Beyond the Mind Map category, which you can easily visualize on the app. Other than this tool, what you also need to do after you read a topic is to solve some questions. Now, questions can be in two forms, either an MCQ or a flashcard. MCQ comes with 4 options, but flashcard is to actually test your memory about one correct answer. So solving a flashcard, what are the typical clinical features of ITP? It's going to lead to bruising, petechiae, purpura, mucosal bleeding. Other than a flashcard, you can also solve MCQs. For example, the critical count for platelet levels in thrombocytopenic purpura, below which manifestations of hemorrhagic or bleeding disorders really happen. What is that count? So it is below 40,000 per mm cube. And this is the explanation and answer over here. And you also get a pictorial representation of the answer, the questions which can be directly answered from the mind map. So you can use these questions to test your memory, prepare for NEET exam, and they are easily available at this app of MediStudy Go. You can open up this app, log into it, and you get free 500 coins, which you can use to unlock various resources like mind maps, notes, videos, flashcards, and MCQs. And if you'd like to compile any topic in under 10-15 minutes and watch such videos, you must subscribe to our channel on YouTube, which is MediStudy Go, and keep watching for more such videos. Thank you for watching.